You are listening to Pride Connections, the podcast that shines a spotlight on LGBTQ guests who are making positive change and inspiring others to make our world a better place. I am your host, Melissa Da Silva. Well, hello and welcome to Pride Connection. I am so happy to be here and I am so happy that you are here with me. So today we're going to be talking with Melvin Marsh. But before we get there, I want to let you know that soon we're going to be coming up to the end of our season 1 of Pride Connections. It has been a wonderful season. I have enjoyed every episode. I've learned so much along the way, and I am just so grateful for all of you that have been listening and following along. So if you want to make sure that you are informed when season 2 comes out, make sure you sign up on our email list, and you can get that over on prideconnections.com. So today with our interview with Melvin Marsh, we talk about how Melvin doesn't allow anything to stop him from accomplishing what he wants to accomplish. So he tells us this story that really is inspiring because he doesn't let anybody stop him from making an impact on the world. And it might not be from the medical school route, and it might not be from what he had thought he wanted to be originally when he was younger, but you get to hear his story and it's really inspirational. So I hope that you enjoy the interview with Melvin Marsh, and I will catch you on the other side. Well, hello, Pride Nation. Thank you for joining me today. I am interviewing Melvin Marsh. Now, Melvin is a certified hypnotherapist, licensed healthcare provider, and certified life coach. He is one of the few certified hypnotherapists in the world to have a medical license. And you are also the owner and creator of After Hours Hypnotherapy. Is that right, Melvin?
Yes, it is.
So tell me a little bit about you that I didn't get in the introduction, because I know there's a whole bunch about you that I didn't even mention yet.
Yeah, that's why I was actually kind of scared. It was actually too short. I didn't know what to do.
We like to hear it from the guest.
Okay, well, that's fine. I don't mind. I am a female-to-male transsexual. I've lived in the South basically my entire life, so you should feel bad for me on that.
Oh, geez.
Hey, I'm just telling the truth.
Yep.
I have several degrees. None of them are related to each other. I have degrees in anthropology and human biology, medieval studies. I have a master's in space studies where I focused on aerospace psychology. I'm a licensed EMT, which is where that licensed healthcare provider comes in. And I attended medical school for a time, which that was a bad idea in the South. And have had a couple of businesses, and now I'm working on becoming a psychologist.
Wow. So how many years has this been with all these professions?
Too many.
Too many.
I'm 36 years old. I first started college when I was 16.
Oh, wow.
I was a dual enrolled student, so I guess we should thank Broward Community College for that. Both they don't actually exist anymore. They changed their name. But I started when I was 16 and got my bachelor's degree from Emory in 2003 and my master's from University of North Dakota. In case you're curious, yes, North Dakota is in fact very, very cold. I earned that.
Is it?
I earned that in 2007. So it is 2017 right now, and I'm still in school. I may never leave, and that's okay.
So would you say you're a professional, scholar?
You could say
point?
that. You could say that. My husband hates that idea because he thinks professional refers to you actually get paid to do it, and I'm not getting paid to go to school.
That's true.
So I actually have joked that I'm a professional student. I am probably going to be 80 years old and still hold on, I can't die yet. I need to finish this next degree, which is entirely possible.
Absolutely. So what made you choose all these different types of professions, like aerospace, being an EMT? What made you jump from one to another?
Partially it's out of necessity, and partially it was out of interest. Now, I transitioned several years ago, but it was after, I came out in 2002, and I was at Emory getting my bachelor's from that. And when I went to graduate school, I didn't get into any PhD programs, but did get into my backup, which was an interest that I had from birth. Basically, I liked astronomy. And I started living full-time as a man in 2007. Aerospace is a conservative industry. That is all I should really have to say about that incident. But it basically, bit me in the butt.
Okay.
Because I was starting to transition. And the EMT license, I had wanted one for quite some time, just because I find medicine to be really, really cool and really, really enjoy it. And after getting turned down from several EMT programs here in Georgia, partially due to the fact I can't prove I graduated high school because my name is different than what was on my high school diploma or transcript, I thought I wasn't going to do it. And then when I got into medical school, they were running a test to see if, they were doing a little bit of a pilot study about seeing if they could improve, patient care in like the third year or something. I'm not entirely sure what they were trying to do. I was told once, and I don't really believe it. And so that got me through the EMT class. I was able to get certified. They actually paid for the certification, which was really, really cool. Because they were, I guess, trying to prove a point. Plus, they were trying to. It helps that EMTs are a little bit in need in the area. So this had a multiple purpose for them.
Wow.
I didn't stay in medical school because I was outed my first day as being transsexual, which caused a huge problem. I got sexually assaulted and got right off campus. And had my house robbed. My car was consistently a target for people to break into. I was beaten up on campus.
Wow.
I eventually had to take a leave of absence. And when I came back, nothing much had changed. Basically, at one point I got accused of raping somebody. She couldn't even agree what my penis looks like. The penis I don't have because I'm transsexual. They claimed an honor council member had seen me rape somebody. And I was like, apparently they didn't know I didn't have a penis. So I actually caught both of them in a lies. So the fact I couldn't produce a sperm sample because I don't have that equipment, I had to basically leave. Or they could file charges on me, despite the fact that their own physicians examined me and said, well, just so you know, he's first of all legally female, and second of all, from the waist down, he's medically female.
Oh my gosh.
So that's how I ended up not doing that. I luckily had been told or strongly advised that since I was coming back from this leave of absence because I'd been abused and I had post-traumatic stress, I was told that in all likelihood the therapist I'd seen used to work for that particular school. And said, you need to have a backup plan. This school's not going to be very friendly, even if you go back, even if you are 100% perfect. He suggested I get a backup plan. I had already been exposed to hypnotherapy because I was actually using that to calm down my anxiety problem.
Wow.
Took a few courses in it, and he strongly advised that being the backup, since I really, really liked it. I was very, very good at it, and I was just taking to it really, really quickly. So that's basically what happened. Well,
so what would you say the difference between hypnotherapy and regular talk therapy would be?
It's pretty different. In hypnotherapy, you're taking the client, you're actually taking that part of them. You can call it whatever you want, but the conscious mind is usually how we're referring to it as. It usually is sitting there kind of like a little guardian, and it basically can easily reject anything around and protects the subconscious. And if we take the conscious mind guardian, whatever you like to call it, and say, okay, well, can you do something else for a while we talk to the subconscious directly? That's basically what we're doing. When you're dealing with regular talk therapy, that conscious mind is still there. It is still talking, and it might let things in or might not. I consider hypnotherapy, and a lot of the more recent scientific studies have backed this up. I consider that to be significantly more effective. it got rid of a phobia that I had for something like 30 something years. When I finally said to the hypnotherapist I was seeing, and he finally said, "Do you want to get rid of this now?" I was like, I guess. I was expecting it to last a few more sessions.
So what was the phobia? Will you feel comfortable telling us?
Actually, it's kind of funny. It was a medical phobia.
Really?
I was already in medical school at the time, but when I was young, I had a really, really bad medical phobia. I couldn't say I couldn't say the word doctor. I mean, it was ridiculous. For a while, my family had to actually avoid driving next to a hospital. And
my goodness.
It was that bad. And it actually got worse when I was pregnant. I was living as a man, pregnant, in 2002.
Oh my goodness.
This was long before Thomas Beatty pulled this pregnant man, Mashugana. I was already doing it in 2002.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I don't think that a lot of our listeners have had that experience or know anybody.
Where do you want me to start?
Well,
where do you want me to start? I know tons of female-to-male transsexuals who did this in the 80s and 90s, which is kind of crazy when you realize that really we weren't really known back in the 80s and 90s as being a thing you could do. But like I know somebody who has 4 children.
Wow.
So only got his uterus removed after the 4th was done. I guess he decided that was the biggest. I guess he decided that 4 was enough.
Wow. So were you on testosterone at the time?
I was not on testosterone at the time because in my case, I have to pay for my testosterone out of pocket. I have to pay for I have to pay for everything out of pocket because insurance doesn't cover it.
Oh my goodness.
But I luckily had enough of a very male attitude that despite the fact I had huge boobs and I was able to bind those things down. I had 34 quadruple D breasts. I was able to bind those down. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I know. I can already, I can hear you kind of going, ouch! And you haven't even said anything yet. That's how I was living.
Wow.
On a positive note, when you become pregnant, you get such a belly that you can hide the boobs.
That's true. It just turns into like one big lump almost.
Yeah, pretty much, because then you can hide most of that. So it's kind of more helpful. But my school, I went to Emory, and the really, really bad insurance I had required I see exclusively Emory physicians for everything. Which also meant I saw medical students. I had some atrociously bad experiences there. I also didn't think that some of them. Luckily, let me preface this by saying, Emory is much better now than it was in 2002. Significantly better, partially due to some of those. I did sexuality panels several years later at Emory where I told them my story. So just wanted to point that out there. Emory is much better. You go there. Trust me, I know some doctors who are very good and will take good care of you there. But in 2002, I had a situation where, for example, which this is kind of something that was already in the news recently, I guess, but you're not supposed to ever take blood from an unconscious patient, And if your patient passes out, ideally you should withdraw the needle, cap off everything, and just worry about the patient. Yeah, I had a nurse that partially due to, I faint easily or used to faint easily. And my big fear was needles. And I basically passed out immediately after somebody stuck me with a needle. They wanted 5 vials of blood. They stopped only after 4 because they just weren't paying attention and didn't care.
Oh my gosh.
I had severe problems after that. So, including I had something that to this day I'm not entirely sure, I think may have been a complex partial seizure. I later did get diagnosed with epilepsy, and this was one of the first times I had this particular phenomenon that took place. So they may have caused my epilepsy.
And they didn't even realize it after 4 vials of blood.
They were supposed to take 5. They got to the end of 4, and I think that was only probably because my husband, who had been standing right there and actually had caught me. He actually caught me and said, "Something's not right here. Hello, wow, do you know Mel's eyes are open? I faint with my eyes open. So sometimes it's harder to do. But you'd think with somebody going completely limp like that, you'd think a nurse and the 3 or 4 medical students that were in the room, you'd think one of them would have noticed and not the lay person.
You would think so.
Not so much.
Yeah.
I actually continued to have that phobia for quite some time, even past then. The only reason I ended up in medical school is because one of my friends actually died due to medical neglect. And
Really?
I decided to take that opportunity because I was already saying, one of these days I probably should get over this phobia. And I had started trying to work in an ER as a volunteer, basically a candy striper, though that's not what we were called.
Candy stripers. I haven't heard that in so long.
Yeah, that's not what we're called anymore. But basically that the old folks were saying that. I said, okay, I'm a candy striper. Okay, I'm basically doing that in the ER. Yes, but it's college auxiliary now. At least that's what that place called it, that hospital. But as I was coming home from trying to do this, because I was trying to get a situation where I was going to be flooded, I also knew my neurologist was right across the street. So if I freaked out too badly, I could literally run from this ER to his office, and he would have let me chill out in his waiting room because he was basically the only physician at the time that I really 100% trusted. And that was only because it stopped the seizures I was having. And I ended up working there because they made an arrangement because they knew I was kind of freaking out. When I came home, I think it was from my second day of that may have been the final time I was doing orientation, my final day. I got a call that one of my friends died. And it was a friend that she'd been having some difficulty for several months and kept going to the doctor, and they kept not letting her get examined. She's a male to female transsexual in Arkansas, of all places. And yeah, can you imagine what basically she went through?
Geez.
By the time that they found out what was wrong with her, she had less than a week to live.
Oh my gosh.
She had throat cancer.
Oh my gosh.
She was dead within a week. Not even a joke. She was dead within a week.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry for your loss. That's horrible.
Yeah, it was. Thanks. It did at least serve as a stimulus. I was so angry. So absolutely angry. So, at least something positive for a while did come out of Tracy's death. I overcame most of the phobia, not all of it. I still had real issues with certain parts. And I went back to school, did all my pre-medical requirements, like organic chemistry, 1 and 2. Feel bad for me. Took the MCAT 3 times and applied to medical school 4 times. Just to have what happened to me happen to me. So I actually, I had gotten most of the way over that phobia. And basically the only thing that was left was a lot of some residual phobias, mostly due to needles, which is where it originally started.
So when you were pregnant, was there a lot of dysphoria stuff going on at the same time?
Considering as though I had just come out a few months prior and was just starting to really understand what was going on, yeah, there was some serious problems going on. And I felt very, very confused because I started to realize, I had already known that I wasn't entirely female. I had actually come out. The first time was I was a preschooler. I said I was a boy. I asked for a sex change at 10, and I was told that nope.
Wow.
And then I was told that because now at 10, I was it was like the early 90s. It was 91, 92. And at that time, my father actually said, they only do it the opposite way. There's nobody like you out there. And it turned out that was incorrect, but back then you didn't have an internet, so it's not like I would have known to look.
Yeah.
So I didn't know until I was 20 when somebody else slipped and basically got that information out. And I Googled, I said, oh my God. So basically Dad lied to me, or maybe Dad didn't lie to me, but he didn't know the whole story because this is the early 90s. Mm-hmm. Nobody had the internet.
That must have felt so horrible, feeling like you're the only one that feels this way.
That's why I attempted suicide a number of times.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm still alive now. So I guess that's good. So
it is very good. So how many children do you have?
I have 3 stepchildren and 1 biological child. I would have.
Wow, so you have a full household.
My husband is significantly older than me, so 3 of those kids were already up there. But yeah, there was a full household. My 14-year-old, who's the baby, she actually lives with my mother down in Hollywood, Florida. It's just too dangerous for her to be in Georgia. And I kept being investigated for being transsexual when she was just a baby. They considered that to be a situation where I was an unfit parent.
Oh my goodness. That's horrible.
So it was either my mother got her or she was going to be forced into foster care just because I was trans. Yeah, and the person who basically said I was the abusive parent was the midwife that had to deliver her. So it was I had to have a home birth. I couldn't deal with the hospital.
Oh my gosh. So you've had a lot of ups and downs throughout your life. This is unbelievable.
Trust me, I know some. If I have one more person say that I have to write a book about it, I'm just gonna lose my mind.
Yeah.
Although there might be one in the future, but I've got other things to deal with. Like right now, I've got a book on conversion coming out first. So.
Oh, nice. What would you say is your inspiration? Like, what kept you going after everything that's gone on? What keeps you going?
I haven't learned enough yet. I guess. I don't know. My grandmother was one time asked a very similar question. She was, a few years ago when my daughter was only a year or 2 old, she was in a really bad car accident. My grandmother, not my daughter. My daughter was fine. She was with me. My grandmother was actually in a coma for a number of months and such. And she was in her 70s, and she one time had to go find a new doctor. And her new doctor actually asked her, because she had survived cancer, could survive these crazy car accidents. He said, "Lil, what keeps you going?" She pauses. She looks directly at him and says, "I haven't pissed off enough people yet." The doctor laughs so hard, he leaves the exam room to get it out and has to come back in. So apparently, I think I'm taking after my grandmother, except for the fact I haven't learned enough yet. That's probably why.
And what would you tell other people is like who might be going through some struggles? What would you give them as a piece of advice?
Find some people that you can talk to. You know, some people will say it gets better. My experience does not always suggest that. It suggests that it goes up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so don't sit there and think, oh, it's going to get better in a year or 2 years or 3 years. It might get better, and it might get better for a while, then get worse for a while, then get better for a while, then get worse for a while. The only thing that's going to keep you going is having some people that you can talk to when it gets bad. Mm-hmm. And hopefully to share your joys when things get better, assuming they get better. So that's a huge thing.
And would you say that a therapist counts as one of those people that you can have?
They can absolutely count. Depends on, although realistically, it depends on how good you think the therapist is and how much you like the therapist. So a good therapist that you like and that you have rapport with.
That's true.
Yes, that would actually be the best person to go to. Well, maybe not the best person, but it would certainly help. It's a good outsized resource.
What would you say was a good idea? Like, what should you keep in mind when you are seeking out a therapist, especially if you're a member of the LGBTQ community? What would you think is like a key takeaway of like when you're looking for a therapist, you should look for this?
Well, I have a few things that I would suggest, and this comes from me being in and out of therapy several times. Now, I first of all think it's always great to have get a word of mouth referral.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's usually that can be the best way. Not always the best way, but it can help. Also, look on their website. Some of them will flat out state, "Hi, I'm LGBTQ friendly," or whatever. If you want to have a member of the LGBT community as your therapist, which some do, some don't. I've never had an LGBT therapist. I primarily go after the straight men mostly. Because I feel, which is funny, is I feel best rapport with them. I don't understand why, but
that's interesting.
Well, I think it's because I am trans and I am gay, but I'm mostly an academic, and several of them have been teachers at colleges. So it might be that was the rapport that I had.
Mm-hmm.
Or that we built on. We built on the rapport from that. So that's, just looking on their website, seeing if they're actually LGBT friendly. My website states that. My website also states them friendly to basically alternative lifestyles, which that can also be a good indicator, because that means that I really can't be.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to, I guess, trying to think of the correct word. It's hard to startle me as far as anything sexual goes.
Mm-hmm.
Really don't care if you're gay, lesbian, bi, trans. I don't care if you're into public sex. I don't care, provided you do it legally. I don't care. You can tell me pretty much anything.
Mm-hmm.
On my CV, I'm not sure if you looked at that, but you might also want to find a therapist that is known to go and do talks on LGBT issues, even if they're not LGBT themselves. I've done a few sexuality panels at Emory University, the very medical school, really, that gave me that partially gave me the phobia.
Wow.
Which, by the way, I felt that was like the ultimate spooky situation, but I realized the medical students may have in fact been more scared of me than I was of them at that moment.
True. In a terrible way.
Yeah, the attending physician that was my mentor is gay doctor at Emory. So I said, I will do, I'm happy to do this thing, but because I consider you a focus and you are a calming presence, can I be in your group so I can basically, when I get too stressed out, look at you? And he did that, and it ended up being a great experience for me and for most of the medical students, from what I understand. So that type of thing can also help. Of course, anytime you meet with a therapist, you need to actually meet them in person. Having this quick phone call might not be the best way of seeing if you even like the person. And sometimes you can be
so
completely
true.
surprised.
Yeah.
While I had this one feeling that I was going to like this one particular therapist, I wasn't 100% sure until I met him. And I said, dude, absolutely, this is the man. I don't care. 20 years down the road, I could probably see this guy and I'll probably still say, dude, I trust you with my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think the important thing about meeting with your therapist first before you can really decide is you need to feel if you have that connection, and you get that when you meet first, face to face, right? There's that energy and you can kind of feel if it's going to be right for you.
Absolutely. I mean, people call my phone number. It goes to voicemail. It goes to voicemail because I'm busy. And if I pick up the phone, realistically, you're not going to get my undivided attention, because I probably have somebody coming up in 5 to 10 minutes, and you just happen to get me, and I thought you were a different person. So that's how people try to do their consults with me, and I'm like, honey, please book an appointment or something, or they'll email me, and I'm like, okay, a lot of things get lost in translation with emails. We might be the perfect person to meet with, but if I'm limited because I'm typing on my phone, or I'm typing in between clients, you're not going to get everything. So that's another. It helps to actually, even if it's a virtual consultation, I do virtual consults. It's good to have time that just involves the two people. So that's a really great thing to do.
And you also do life coaching, correct?
I can do that phone or virtual, or in person if they want. It's very similar. It's very related to, hypnosis, general therapy. And I have more than my fair share of crazy experiences, which I'm hoping can lead to better answers to the client.
Nice. So Melon, if anybody wanted to know more about you or your work, where can they find you?
The easiest way to find me is literally through my website, which is afterhourshypnotherapy.com. You can also email me. You can email, and I've got several email addresses. I'm very active on social media. It's hard for me to find. It's hard to not find me. Dude, you have to literally be trying not to find me to not find me. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. I respond to basically anything.
And if anybody wanted your service?
I used to do in-person consults. Now I've got to do Zoom consultations. That's all on afterhourshypnotherapy.com. It's much easier to do everything. I'm very easy to book with.
And you also have a Patreon page.
Yes. So far I'm still working on that, but that's for if people are appreciating the YouTube videos that I'm putting up. I'm trying to do like 2 to 3 minute questions and answers about hypnosis. And one person asked me oh, well, it's a shame there's no way to donate to you. Really? Because I've got a Patreon page.
Yeah.
So I actually just made it live and nobody's donated to me, but hey, if people want to donate to me, go ahead. It takes a lot of dog cookies to keep my dogs quiet to do these videos.
Yes, I'm sure it does.
I basically have to do these things when in the absolute clear time when I have another person that can distract the dogs. I've got 3 dogs. It's hard to keep all of them quiet to do those videos. So it takes a lot out of me to do those things, especially when I have to redo them constantly.
Oh, no. So people can find you on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube.
Instagram is literally the only one I'm not on. I'm on. I don't take any photos. I mean, I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. Basically, I am easy to find. Instagram is literally the only thing I do because I don't take any photos. I pretty much never leave my house. All you're going to do is see photos of food. If I do, and that's going to be like recipes. That's basically all I would do if I was on Instagram.
And your dogs. I'm sure you would take pictures of your dog.
Usually when they're trying to steal my food.
Yes.
I'm fairly easy to find.
Thank you so much, Melvin, for joining me today and sharing your story with us. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be inspired by what you have told us today. So thank you so much for coming. And thank you for all the work that you're doing for the community and for the people in your area with the hypnotherapy.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here. And if anybody needs me, like I said, it's really easy to find.
All right. Thank you so much. And we will talk to you soon.
Okay.
So I hope you were inspired just as much as I was after listening to Melvin's story. So again, Pride Nation, I like to hear from you. So if you would love to let me know what you're thinking, how things are going, drop me a line. Let me know that you are enjoying Pride Connections, and you can do that over at prideconnections.com. And until next time, keep being amazing and keep aspiring others.